Just another brother with another humble question. Just another brother with another humble question.
Welcome to another episode of A Brother with Questions. I am your host, B. Period. I appreciate you for joining me. We're going to dive in to this video from the Jamal Bryant podcast here. But before we do, let me not forget to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. And please share with your friends, your family, whoever you think might enjoy this video too. I appreciate that. So I'm taking a little pause. I'm going to dive in. We're at the top of the week. The Democratic Convention is about to start. And so as the week closes here, we're going to kind of recap and talk about what it is. I'm assuming they're going to finally lay out this agenda that they have for the Harris-Walz campaign. And so we're going to dive into that later this week. But today, man, I was watching this video today. Jamal Bryant is interviewing a gentleman by the name of John Hope Bryant. He is not a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur. And he does do philanthropy as well. But as an entrepreneur, one of his biggest companies is a company called Operation Hope, where he talks and teaches about financial literacy, mainly in the Black and brown communities, from what I could tell. But in this conversation, he was talking to Jamal Bryant about gentrification, and he laid a perspective that I think is different and contrary to the perspective that you typically hear from a lot of certainly minorities and their take on it. He's certainly left of that, but it's just the thought process that he gave. Now, if you go back, listen to this entire interview, he drops gems. He clearly cares about the Black community, brown communities, and all that sort of thing, and focused on teaching financial literacy as a way to unlock the key to success and wealth in this country. But we're just going to check out this piece, and then I'll probably drop the link to the whole thing in the description as well. But let's check him out.
Really need to amplify. I heard you say something the other day that I wanted you to unpack on gentrification. Because what I am finding is a lot of the people who are a part, John, of these inner city churches no longer live in the area where the church is.
Right.
They grew up and grew out.
Right.
And so they come back into town as tourists on Sundays. Yeah. I want you to repeat what it is that you said about gentrification.
It's so funny that that's true. I mean, I know I'm a church guy, so I'm at church every Sunday, and this is definitely true. There are few of us that actually live in the neighborhood where the church is located. So I concur on that one.
And really where the church really has a role to play in that.
Well, I run my mouth so much, I don't know exactly what I said, but if I think what you're referring to is that, we keep talking about gentrification as if it's a bad thing. Gentrification is a good thing. The dictionary definition of gentrification is literally a movement to middle-class values. You want a move. That's what the rabbi was telling you. You want people who have assets or not just on there so that they have something to give back and know how to budget and so on and so forth. And so you just want that to be inclusive gentrification. You want it to look like you, to include you. But the minute you see white kids, 22 years old, with flip-flops and T-shirts on a bicycle driving through your neighborhood, that's not a tourist, right? They own something in your neighborhood, and don't hate on them. They're not the Klan coming in with fire torches and with hoods on. They didn't run nobody out. In order for them to buy, somebody had to sell.
Right.
Don't hate on them. Applaud them for being intelligent.
Just that is so true, and I think that's another perspective that, especially in the Black community, the gentrification in the Black community is you might as well cut somebody out because it's always perceived to be a negative thing. And one of the things I've had conversations with a few friends of mine, I go, I don't see what the bad thing is, because when you say white people are coming in and they're buying up the neighborhood cheap, my thought was, okay, so if they're doing it, why aren't we doing it? Because at the end of the day, as he just said, somebody had to sell. So if people are willing to sell, then why aren't we going in and buying? Why are we sitting on the outside looking in and going, see all them white people buying up all them old houses, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Black people got money too. If they can do it, why aren't y'all doing it? Why are we sitting around complaining instead of doing something about the situation?
Right? Because what is inner city? An inner city in France is called Paris.
Right.
An inner city in the UK is called London.
Right.
An inner city in Turkey is called Istanbul. An inner city in Japan is called Tokyo. This is centrally located, valuable real estate. They put us in it to penalize us as other folks move to the suburbs.
Right.
In the middle of the 20th century, they didn't want to be around us. They created their own neighborhoods out wherever. That didn't work. Not crime. Traffic got horrible. They don't want to drive an hour. By the way, offices are coming back.
Right.
You heard it here. People said after 9/11, New York will never come back. You can't. You walk down the street in New York, little kid, 3 years old, kicking you in the knees. You can't. Right. Somebody pushing you off the stair. They said DC wasn't coming back. Offices will come back. It's going to take a minute. So the traffic's coming back. We're already seeing it, by the way.
Oh yes.
But these inner cities are 5 minutes from jobs, 5 minutes from transportation, 5 minutes from infrastructure, downtown. This is invaluable real estate, and we should own some of it. Now, let me go back. Let me tie these two things.
And there it is, man. It's valuable real estate. We should be owning some of it. We have to. And I'm talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about people who look at opportunities as if opportunities are only given to white people. The same opportunity that you see, where you see gentrification occurring. It's not this moment where, as minorities, we have to sit back and go, I can't believe they're doing it again. No, as minorities, we have to sit back and go, if you don't want 35 white people coming in and buying these old homes from older black people, or whatever the case may be, or younger black people, whomever they are, well then, instead of 35 of them, why don't 17 of y'all take 17 off, or whatever the case may be? Opportunity is opportunity. And as the opportunity grows, it's the responsibility of individuals to come in and do what's right. If you think they're doing something wrong, well, then you come in and do what's right. But can we stop sitting back complaining about how other people are blah, blah, blah? The same opportunities exist for all of us. They are not magical. They are just fiscally responsible. They see opportunity. They've put themselves in a position to take advantage of opportunity, and now they're doing it. We have the same opportunities. We're not being beholden to some strange wall, some imaginary wall that is stopping us from climbing over it. That wall doesn't exist. And the moment we realize that wall doesn't exist, we'll start taking advantage of all the things that are possible in this place and achieve all the things that are possible in this place. Because we're sitting back, we're watching everybody else take advantage and lying to ourselves about the possibility that we can. He has a last piece on this, and then I'm gonna end this video. And like I said, go watch it. Go watch the whole thing, man.
Together, because whether it's urban black and brown or rural black and brown or poor white, what we found with data, I love data. We had Experian pull every zip code in America by credit score.
Wow.
I just did I had a hunch. My hunch was now more than correct. Like there's like a 1% margin of error, what I'm about to tell you. We literally have been looking for love in all the wrong places. The data is unimpeachable, and it says this. All of our problems, crime, murder, mayhem, drugs, depression, poverty, are in 500 credit score neighborhoods. And in that neighborhood, by the way, black and brown urban or white poor, here's what you see. A check casher, target marketing, next to a payday loan lender,
Yeah.
next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lending store, next to a pawn shop, next to a liquor store, if I didn't say it already.
Yeah.
You guys starting to get a visual? And down the street is a church. That's your neighborhood psychologist. That's the only positive thing in this story, trying to make sure you don't go cray-cray once a week.
When you think about that, it jives, man. It jives. Because when you're talking about neighborhoods where crime is being committed, we're talking about neighborhoods where most people are renting. We're talking about neighborhoods where most people at best have their high school diploma. We're talking about neighborhoods where nobody's ever taught them about credit. We're talking about places where half of the people are struggling to find a job for whatever reason. And so, yes, their credit scores are low, and typically crime is high. I'm gonna let him finish his last point, and then I got one more thing.
Black folks riot on the streets. My poor white friends riot at the ballot box.
Wow.
You live to 61 years old in a 580 credit score neighborhood. What is the age for Social Security? Am I talking to myself?
No, not at all.
65. By the way, I'm not saying some communities. On average, if you live in a 500 credit score neighborhood, you live to 61. Actually, it's 580. It's worse as you get further down. If you live in a 700 credit score neighborhood of any race, which is typically 15 minutes away, you live to 81. It's a 20-minute delta. I'm sorry, a 20-year loss of life because of your credit score and your zip code. And all the other numbers follow.
So he said two things there. So the first one I'm going to piggyback on is the credit score. So he said in a 580 neighborhood, your average lifespan is 61. And then his point was, for anybody that missed it, Social Security doesn't even start to 65. So you now died before you can even take advantage of your Social Security. And then he says in the 700 credit score neighborhood, the average lifespan is 81. So there's a loss of 20 years on average, simply because, or that can be calculated based on your credit score. He goes on to talk about the idea that, once again, people in 700 credit score neighborhood, you have majority home ownership is almost doubled. The home ownership is almost double in those neighborhoods, if not more. Again, from an educational standpoint, those people have at least higher education, some kind of bachelor's degree or more. What it reminds me of is we're fighting so hard in this country for equality, they say. And one of the arguments that I make with people is that it's not that we don't have equality. I believe we have equality. What we don't have is we have a difference in values based on income. And so when you talk about that 700 credit score neighborhood, so you got parents who are more than likely bachelor's degree or higher. You probably have families, mom, dad, married, kids, whatever. And so typically in those families, there is a focus for the kid to also now go get bachelor's degree or higher. So we're in higher education. In the 580 credit score neighborhood, again, the average is high school diploma. There's not a focus on education. There's probably not even a focus on family because there's probably a lot of single family homes. Single parent homes. And so it's a value system that we're missing. Because if you can plug into the value system, mom, dad, raising kids together, you can plug into the value system, higher education. And that might include college, because for some, in order to get to those STEM degrees, because that's where the world is going, that's going to generally require college. But if you don't do the college thing, I'm going to tell you, go to trade school. Because electricians and plumbers, on average, they can make as much as the average college graduate, especially if all they got is a bachelor's degree. It's education is the key. Getting yourself educated, starting a family, 2-parent income household, and then encouraging your children, raising your children to understand education is the key in this country. You follow those paths, you're in a 700 credit score neighborhood. You're owning your home, which in this country, owning a home is the fastest way to building wealth. And now you're building something so that when your kid, or when you leave, there's something left for your kid to have, so that the next generation is starting off on a better foot than you. We make this thing sound like it's magical. It's so simplistic, but you got to buy into it. You got to get over yourself and understand the formula is simple. It ain't that you black. It ain't that they white. It's a formula. It's a value system. You buy into it, you plug into the system, and you'll have everything that you want. This ain't a race thing. It's a value system. And on that note, I'm out.